Okay, good morning, Polinians. Today is your library period, and I am your librarian, Miss Mariluz Sacpa. Today, I will be presenting about the copyright law. So, I'll be discussing basics on the copyright law. The meaning of copyright, uh, how will you apply for, or how will you register for copyright, and then I will also include the plagiarism. So let's start. Okay. Copyright law, or that is Republic Act number 8293. So what is copyright? So I know that you already know the copyright symbol, which is C encircled. So what is copyright? So this is a definition by Sibal in the year 1986. So copyright is an intangible, incorporeal right granted by statute to the author or originator of a certain literary or artistic productions. So whereby he is invested for a limited period with the sole and exclusive privilege of multiplying copies of the same and publishing and selling them. So when we say intangible or incorporeal, it is abstract or you cannot touch it. So this is a right granted by the statute or by the law to the author of a book or originator of paintings like that. That is our originator. And then of a certain literary or artistic productions. When we say literary, these are which includes books, short stories, novels like that, speeches. And then artistic productions refers to paintings, sculptors, or the sculptures like that. And then, copyright also has expiration, which is, it is said here that it is invested for a limited period only. So later we'll discuss how many years does copyright subsist. And copyright owners are privileged to multiply the copies or photocopy it in simpler term. And then they also are entitled to publish and then sell them. So that is the definition by Sibal, 1986. Another one, we have also the definition by the National Library of the Philippines, or the NLP. So copyright is a form of intellectual property. So when we say intellectual property, this is idea, invention, or process, which is a form or work of the mind or the intellect. So this is kind of intellectual property which protects the rights of authors and creators of literary and artistic works. So from my explanation a while ago, literary means the books, short novels, and then speeches. Artistic works means visual arts, paintings, photographs. These are the example of artistic works. And it also says here that it refers to the main act in which, in respect of literary and artistic creation, may be made only by the author or with his authorization. So here, any change or alteration of the work is solely made by the author. Or if you are going to change it or alter it, you need the authorization of the author or the permission of the author. And works are also protected by the sole fact of their creation, irrespective of their mode or form of expression, as well as their content, quality, and purpose. So we have the form of expression. So now ebooks are also existing. They also have the copyright. Printed books and then ebooks. There are ebooks also have their copyright. So this is a definition by the National Library of the Philippines. So next slide, copyright ownership. So how can you own a copyright? So who owns the copyright? The creator or designer owns the copyright in a work he creates on a freelance basis. So example, I am a writer. So the copyright, I am a writer and I'm going to write a book, or I already published a book. So I will be the creator or the designer, which is my So the copyright ownership will be under my name. So the second one, if employed by an organization or government, then the employer or government owns the copyright. So let's set an example here. Employees of the DOH conducted a research about COVID-19 and wanted to publish that book or that research. So copyright ownership will be under the name of the Department of Health, which is a government agency. So the copyright ownership will be under the government, which is the Department of Health. So no one owns or employees or any name of the employees will not be under the copyright ownership. The name of the Department of Health will be in the copyright ownership. So the third one, commissioned photographs, engravings, and portraits belong to the commissioning person. So commissioned photographs, example, if I am a photographer, I took a photo, or I am a painter, I painted a visual art, and then that art or that photograph will belong to me because I am the authorized person. Commissioning person means the authorized person. So next, let's go to the rights of copyright owners. So what are the rights of copyright owner? Number one, reproduction. So the copyright owner has the right to reproduce or multiply copies, or in simpler term, photocopy. You have the right to photocopy your own or your own work or the copyrighted work. Another one, adaptation. So the copyright owners has the right to prepare a new work based on the original or the copyrighted work. So example, I published or I wrote a book, and that book is copyrighted under my name. So I have the right to make a new adaptation. So I think you already you see some books that are it's not authored by, it's adaptations made by, like that. So that is a term for that is a work that is, there is original work and then you make changes or alter some parts of that book, but you have put their adaptation. That is for adaptation. Another one is distribution. So copyright owners have the right to sell or otherwise distribute copies to the public. So copyright owners have the right to sell their own published work or their own copyrighted work without violating the copyright infringement or the copyright infringement. Another one, performance. In case of for musicals or what we call the uh, visual arts, you have the right to perform. So the copyright owners have the right to perform that work in public. Another one is publication. So copyright owners also have the right to publish a protected work or a copyrighted work without violating the copyright infringement. So display, that is the last one. For painters, sculptors, or photographers, they have the right to display their or exhibit their work in public. So that's the right of copyright owners. So what does copyright protect? So what are the works that that the copyright protects? We have number one, the literary arts. Literary arts, just as I am saying a while ago, literary arts include books, poetry, novels, short stories, or speeches. These are literary arts. Then music arts includes the sheet music, recorded music, CDs, DVDs, because hindi nyo pa naabutan yung CDs or DVDs, maybe you're familiar with Spotify. These are copyrighted works. And then visual arts includes illustrations, designs, paintings, drawings, photographs, sculpture, architectural designs, and even video games. You can, if you, what they call that one, if you make an app, which is a video game, then you can apply that for a copyright under your name. If that is your original work. And then another one is the performing arts, which includes choreography, plays, and musicals. These are also, the copyright will also protect this one. So let's go to the copyrightable works. Yeah, of course, which includes literary works, books, novels, short stories, then musical works, including lyrics. So if I am a composer and I compose a song, so the song will be, if the song will be under my name or under the copyright of my name, and dramatic works, including accompanying music and choreographic works, dances like that. You can apply that one for copyright. Artistic works, which includes graphic, pictorial, and sculptural works, motion picture and other audiovisual works, sound recordings, and broadcasts. So next, let's tackle what are the works that you cannot apply for copyright or you cannot register for copyright. Uh, this includes titles, mere titles of books, which are these are not copyrightable. Names, short phrases, and slogans. These are works that are not copyrightable. We have familiar symbols or designs. So example, dollar sign, asterisk. These are not copyrightable works. However, symbols like Adidas, if you're familiar with the symbol of Adidas, McDo, Nike, Apple, then these are works that you can register under trademark. So trademark means this trademark protects words, phrase, symbol, or other indicator that identifies the source of goods or services. So, example, Apple. It's a uh, what they call that one? Electronic company, and then they applied their Apple symbol as trademark. So when you say that symbol, it means that it's Apple. So, symbols or also for businesses may register for trademark or their own copyright. And variations of typography, coloring, or lettering. So, typography includes the Arial, Times New Roman. Uh, if you're encoding in the Microsoft Word, that is not copyrightable. The Arial format, form of font style like that, and list of ingredients or contents. List of ingredients. Example, if you're going to the grocery and then you list some ingredients, that's not copyrightable. We have also ideas, procedures, methods, systems, processes, concepts, principles, discovery, or devices. Baka naman yung iba sa inyo, you're going to apply for copyright on your own gamit yung you go to the copyright, you apply for copyright, then you bring your laptop. Well, that's not copyrightable. Your laptop is not copyrightable. And water cycle procedures or concepts like water cycle, filtration, like that, that is not copyright, that ideas are not copyrightable. And we have common information such as calendars, measurement charts, TV guides, telephone directories. These works are not copyrightable and works under the public domain. So later I will be discussing what is public domain in my next slide. So let's go to the next slide. So how long does copyright subsist? So in general, the term of protection of works under copyright covers the lifetime of the author and 50 years after his death. So for example, Jose Rizal, the El Fili, and No Limitang Here. So let's say Jose Rizal began to write the book in the year 1884 until 1885. So in the year 1896, Jose Rizal died. So let's add 50 years in the year that Jose Rizal died, that is 1896 plus 50. So let's say 1946, that is 1946. So in the year 1946, the works of Jose Rizal, which is the El Fili and No Limitang Here, will be um, considered as public domain. So what is public domain? Public domain are works available for public use and cannot be privately owned. So these works of Jose Rizal, which are the El Fili and No Limitang Here, will be under the public domain, wherein everyone can freely photocopy, make adaptations without asking permission from the author. So that is a public domain. So we have also some titles here which are under the public domain, which is Tarzan. These titles are international titles. So Tarzan, um, the Walt Disney, they made adaptations by producing movie of Tarzan, Snow White, Cinderella, like that, because the the works like Tarzan, the titles like Tarzan, Cinderella, Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, these are already in the public domain. So no one can privately own this one. So they are freely and they are able to make adaptations in that works. So next, so how will you register for a copyright in the Philippines? So in each country, there is a copyright law. You can check in the copyright law of United States. We are all different. So now in the Philippines, how can you register for a copyright? So I've given you the contact information. We have the copyright section, fifth floor of the National Library of the Philippines building, TM Calao Avenue, Manila, Philippines. So they have their email address, copyright@nlp.gov.ph, and then their telephone number. You can also check for their website. So you can apply for you can register for a copyright if you have an unpublished work. So unpublished work, these are thesis and dissertation. So they have also posted there the requirements for copyright registration. However, before the National Library of the Philippines will grant the copyright to you, or before you can have your copyright ownership, the work will undergo a rigorous evaluation. So they will check if the work is really original before granting you the copyright. So I think in the National Library, there is a database which is used for plagiarism check. That is Turnitin database, which will check if your work is plagiarized or not. So let's go to the next slide. Fair use of copyrighted work. So what is fair use? Fair use. The fair use of copyrighted work is for criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, including multiple copies for classroom use, scholarship, research, and similar purposes, is not an infringement of copyright. So I will give you an example. For example, during the Christmas season, because you're a singer, you perform a song by BTS entitled Dynamite to to your family members. So you didn't charge them for the fee to hear you sing. So that's fair use. You are not violating copyright infringement there. Another example. So you're delivering a keynote address to your fellow students or to the public, and you borrowed the quote from your favorite author. So, or philosopher, then you credit the original creator. So that's fair use, as long as you credit the borrowed quote or you credited the original work. So remember always to give credit where it's due. Always cite your sources, both in written and in speeches. So always cite your sources. So there's reproduction of a published work. So are you uh, are you what do you call this one? Are you entitled to reproduce a published work or a copyrighted work? Yes, you are entitled. However, there are conditions. So, the private reproduction of a published work in a single copy, where the reproduction is made by a natural person or by a common person for research and private study shall be permitted without the authorization of the author of copyright in the work. So, you are entitled to photocopy a book or a work or a speech, an article, but for the reason of private study and research. And you're all only entitled to photocopy a single copy, not 5 copies or 10 copies. And you're not going to sell that uh, photocopied material. So I will give you an example on the fair use that is under fair use. So, for example, I will photocopy a part of a book which I needed for my research. Then that is not copyright. However, if I photocopy the whole book, I will post it online on a selling, like in Lazada. That is a online selling site. So that is copyright infringement because I'm going to sell that photocopied material. You will that will be an you will be violating the copyright infringement. So next, uh, our libraries or archive also are entitled to photocopy a material. Yes, they're entitled to photocopy a material or a book. So any library or archive whose activities are not for profit may, without the authorization of the author of copyright owner, make a single copy of the work by retrographic reproduction. So any library or archive which are not for profit or not for business are allowed to photocopy a material, single copy only of the material, not 10 copies or 20 copies. I think that's not you will be violating the copyright infringement. So next, let's go to the copyright infringement. So what is copyright infringement? Copyright infringement is when the copyrighted work is reproduced, distributed, performed publicly, displayed, or made into a derivative work without the permission of the copyright owner. So example, ako, nag-photocopy ako ng isang libro, binenta ko. That's copyright infringement because I distributed it. I made business out of it. So for example, um, we have a song, and then that song is not my original composition. So, binenta ko sa ABS-CBN agency for them to perform or for them to publicly display it. That's copyright infringement because I did not ask permission from the copyright owner or the original creator. So next, what are the penalties? Criminal penalties. If you violated the copyright infringement. So first offense, you're going to be imprisonment of 1 year to 3 years. and then plus a 50,000 pesos fine to 150,000 pesos. So let's be careful. Then the second offense, 3 years and a day to 6 years of imprisonment, and plus 150,000 pesos to 500,000 pesos of fine. So makukulong ka na nga, magbabayad ka pa. So before we go to that part, or bago natin maranasan yan, let's be careful. Let us always cite our sources. So if ever we borrow the quote, if they saying, always cite your sources. So next, let's go to the plagiarism. So what is plagiarism? So this plagiarism is from a Latin word, plagiarus, meaning kidnapper. So this is a copying or closely imitating the work of another writer, composer, without permission and with the intention of passing the results off as original work. So example, I copy or imitate a writer's idea or work without permission, wherein I present that this idea or this work is my own original work. That is plagiarism. So plagiarism, there are many cases here in the Philippines, even in academic institutions, we have cases. Later, I will be presenting some popular cases of plagiarism. Even in universities, we have uh, we have many cases. So we have types of plagiarism. Of course, we have the if you did not cite your source, well, that is plagiarism. And then even if you cite your source, that's still plagiarism. We will go one by one with that kind of plagiarism. So, number one, the ghostwriter. So, the ghostwriter turns in another's work, word for word, as his or her own. Ito, kinuha mo yung buong work ng ibang tao, word for word, and then you did not cite. That's the ghostwriter. Exactly na kinapi mo what is written, and then you claimed it as it is your own work without citing the sources. That is a ghostwriter. So let's go to number two, the photocopy. The writer copies significant portions of text straight from a single source without alteration. Dun sa ghostwriter, buong text or buong idea, kinopy mo. And then you claim it as your own. Dito sa the photocopy, the writer copies significant portions or kinopy mo lang yung importanteng idea or yung alam mong magagamit mo dun sa paper mo. That is you're copying the significant portions of the text straight from a single source. So isa lang yung source mo. And then hindi mo pa binago. And you did not cite. That is the photocopy. Doon sa ghostwriter kasi, kinlay mo lahat ng idea kinuha mo. Dito sa the photocopy, yung importanteng idea lang ang kinuha mo. And then without alteration. And you did not cite. Next, the Potluck Paper. The writer copies from several different sources, tweaking the sentences to make them fit together while retaining the original phrasing. So, example, I gathered or I copied information from several different sources. While changing slightly, konti lang yung binago ko dun sa sentences to make them fit together. But I still retain most of the original phrasing, and I did not cite my source. That is plagiarism. That's still plagiarism. So, ang dami mong sources, ang dami mong pinagkuhanan ng idea, and then you make yung pinagtagpi-tagpi mo sila, pinagsama-sama mo para mag fit together in sila. But yung original phrasing nandun pa rin. And you did not cite your source. That's still plagiarism. Next, we have the poor disguise, number 4. So the writer has altered the paper's appearance slightly by changing keywords and phrases. So here, the writer has changed the paper's appearance slightly only. Konti lang yung binago mo. And then, you change the important words or phrases. And you did not cite your source. That's plagiarism. Dun sa the Potluck Paper, ang dami mong sources na pinagkuhanan. Dito naman sa the poor disguise, hindi madami yung pinagkuhanan mo. Pwedeng madami and then pwedeng isa lang, and then ang change mo is yung important words or phrases, and you did not cite your sources. That's still plagiarism. Next, the labor of laziness. The writer takes time to paraphrase most of the paper from other sources to make it all fit together. So, pinaraphrase mo yung mga nakuha mong idea or information, and then from other sources, sa iba-ibang sources, and then pinagsama-sama mo sila, and you did not cite your source. That's plagiarism. So number 6, the SelfStealer. So the writer borrows generously from his or her previous work. So let me give you an example. I have previously written a paper entitled, may sinulat akong paper entitled Library Satisfaction Level of SPCM Students. And now, I am going to write a new one, or magsusulat ulit ako ng paper, and I borrowed information from my previous work in the thought that it's okay because that is my work, but that is wrong. Even if it is my own work, I still need to cite it. Kahit pa idea mo siya noon, you still need to cite that idea from your previously na na-publish mo na siya na libro, and then you want to use that idea for your new book. You need to cite your name. I-cite mo pa rin siya. That is the SelfStealer. Okay, we have types of plagiarism. This one, you cite your sources, but still it's plagiarized. I will go with that one by one. Sasabihin ko sa inyo kung bakit plagiarize pa rin siya kahit na na-cite mo na yung sources mo. So number 1, the forgotten footnote. The writer mentioned an author's name for a source, but neglects to include specific information on the location of the material reference. So, nagbigay ka ng citation mo. Meron kang bibliographic citation. However, kulang yung information, or may some specific information na kulang doon sa citation mo. So, example, nandun yung, I know that you're familiar with the APA citation. So, you need to complete that one. Hindi pwedeng kulang yung year. Depende na lang kung walang year dun sa material na sinasite mo. Kung wala talaga, you can put what do you call this one? Not parenthesis, bracket, and then ND, then close bracket. That's if the year is not there, kung walang year. And then, pero kapag alam mo na may year, and then hindi mo sinama sa citation mo, that's still plagiarism. Kulang yung binigay mong information ng bibliographic citation. That's the forgotten footnote. Number 2, The Misinformer. The writer provides inaccurate information regarding the sources, making it impossible to find them. So, meron akong citation, may binigay akong bibliographic citation. However, hindi naman ito, example, yung link. Hindi naman siya na-access yung link. So, pwedeng gawa-gawa ko lang yung citation ko for the sake na mayroon akong bibliographic citation for my paper, or else nagkaroon ng broken link dun sa dun sa link na nilagay ko, or dun sa citation na nilagay ko. So broken link, these are links in a website that no longer works because the destination web page has been moved or no longer exists. So be careful dun sa pagkukuha ng information online. We have many broken links. Ang daming mga broken links na hindi mo na siya ma-access. Example, na-access ko ngayon, the following day hindi ko na siya ma-access. So let us be careful in finding information or inciting information kasi ang dami na ring fake news ngayon. That is the Misinformer. Next, number 3, the too perfect paraphrase. So the writer properly cites a source but neglects to put in quotation marks on text that has been copied word for word. So if you copied word for word, you need to put quotation marks. Kung exactly na kinopya nyo yung information, you need to put quotation marks. Pag walang quotation mark yan, that is still plagiarism. Quotation mark is very important. Another one, the resourceful citer. So the writer properly cites all sources, paraphrasing and using quotations appropriately. So yes, may mga sources ka, nandyan lahat, tama yung mga sources mo, na-access siya, and gumamit ka ng quotation mark doon sa kinapi mo na word for word. Pero what is the catch? The paper contains almost no original work. So lahat kinopya mo. Wala kang original work, wala kang nilagay na own idea mo doon sa paper. Lahat kinopya. That's still plagiarism. So number 5, the perfect crime. So the writer properly quotes and cites sources in some places, but goes on to paraphrase other arguments from those sources without citation. So I will give you an example. I properly quote a word for word idea na kinuha ko from a book article. Then I cite my sources from that ideas na kinuha ko, which was I used in my introduction part. However, nagparaphrase ako ng ibang arguments or ibang ideas that I use in my other part of my paper. And hindi ko sinite or hindi ko sinama doon sa bibliographic citation ko yung pinaraphrase ko ng mga idea. That's still plagiarism. So you should cite all your sources. Walang exemption. Lahat ng pinagkuhanan mo ng idea, pinaraphrase mo man yan or hindi, ay pinaraphrase mo man yan, you need still to cite that source. So next, here, what about images, videos, and music? Are they copyrightable? Yes. I already discussed a while ago na copyrightable ang music, videos, and images. So, without receiving proper permission or providing appropriate citation, the following are considered plagiarism. Pagdating sa media, images, videos, and music. So, copying media, especially images from other websites to paste them in your own papers or website. So, example, ako, vlogger ako. So, may nakita kong image sa Google. Yung mga images na sa Google ngayon, meron na yung copyright. So, yung iba, hindi mo siya madadownload. And you cannot use that one in your website. Another one, making a video using footage from others' videos or using copyrighted music as part of the soundtrack. So, example, nag-upload ako sa Facebook ng isang video and then gumamit ako ng isang soundtrack na under ng copyright or copyrighted na soundtrack. So, nung nag-upload ako, it says there that the music is muted because that that sound or background music is a copyrighted work. Hindi ko lang sure kung na-observe niyo sa Facebook, pero ganun na yung Facebook ngayon. Pag copyrighted work na yung background music mo, mamamute na siya. So next is performing another person's copyrighted music. So, example, yun, playing a cover, copyrighted music yun. And yung iba na nagpe-play ng cover, they ask permission from the copyright owner. That is, okay naman siya as long as you ask permission from the original creator or the copyright owner. Another one is composing a piece of music that borrows heavily from another composition. So, in the music industry, there are so many cases of copyright infringement or plagiarism. Like, if you're familiar with the Skoustakli versus the BTS, what year ba? Last year? Last year ba yun? So, with the song, yung song na na sinabi ng BTS na the song was copied from them by Skoustakli. So, if you're, pwede niyong i-search to online. So, we have news naman, reliable news articles that you can check. And we have also Ed Sheeran versus Marvin Gaye. So, yung nag-hit na music ni Ed Sheeran, which is the Thinking Out Loud, it was Marvin Gaye, tawag nito, nag-ano siya ng plagiarism, na plagiarize daw ni Ed Sheeran yung kanyang music. Na yung Thinking Out Loud is parehas doon sa music ni Marvin Gaye, which is the Let's Get It On. So, what happened to Ed Sheeran? Ed Sheeran was being sued for $100 million for allegedly copying the parts of Marvin Gaye's music. So what happened to the case? The case was still in the court for trial and para i-check kung yung copyright for the scope of the copyright protection, and kasi nga sabi yung nagkaroon ng similarities yung two songs with their melody, harmony, and rhythmic composition. So the U.S. Federal Court is still under the case is under for trial. So now, I will be presenting some famous cases of plagiarism in the Philippines. Here. So number one, the tourism slogan, Pilipinas kay ganda, which is launched in the year 2012. In the year 2012, so nagkaroon ito ng issue because similar ito sa Poland's Polska. Ito, makikita nyo dito yung image, which is the Pilipinas kay ganda, and then the Poland's Polska, which are the colors, yung parehas na usage ng colors, and then the tree. So, this was made by the Department of Tourism. So what happened? What happened to the case? So the undersecretary then was Vicente Romano III. So he was in charge in the DOT's planning and promotion section. So what happened to him? He took the full responsibility for the campaign and left his post. And he also apologized to to the president before, who was President Benigno Aquino III, and then the secretary before, who was Alberto Lim. And then he also apologized to the public over the controversy. So what happened next? After that issue, what happened next? The Pilipinas Kay Ganda was scrapped and replaced by It's More Fun in the Philippines. So, which is, It's More Fun in the Philippines. This slogan has also its own issue. So I will present to you this second slide. So just after its launch in 2012, the Department of Tourism, It's More in the Philippines slogan, was criticized for allegedly being a copycat of the 1951 Swiss tourism slogan that read, It's More Fun in Switzerland. So you can see from that image that they're likely similar. So Tourism Secretary Mon Jimenez took to Twitter to react on the issue, saying that the similarity is just a coincidence. So sinabi ng Tourism Secretary na coincidence lang yung similarity ng dalawang campaign. So instead, he and his team worked to make the campaign viral. So nag-viral yung campaign na It's More Fun in the Philippines. So what happened next? The plagiarism issue eventually died down, especially after the Swiss ambassador to Manila, Ivo Siber, expressed his support for the It's More Fun in the Philippines campaign, which is now the campaign of the Department of Tourism. Ito na yung gamit natin ngayon yung It's More Fun in the Philippines. Next is, we have also cases in academic institutions. So here, when Harvard student Kavya Vishwanathan, who wrote How Opal Mehta Got Kissed, Got Wild, and Got a Life, so their fans found out that she'd copied dozens of passages from two novels by Megan McCafferty. So her publishers decided to stop publishing, and DreamWorks Production abruptly canceled the film they were planning for the book. So, mafe-film na sana siya kasi nandiyan na yung DreamWorks Production, pero it was canceled because of the plagiarism issue. Next, we have also a case in the reported by the New York Times in 2012 in the University of Virginia. Physics professor Louis Bloomfield, who realized that 60 of the term papers of his class were almost exactly alike. So dati, term papers pa ang tawag sa ano. Term papers pa kasi ngayon kasi ang term papers is thesis and thesis for undergraduate and dissertation for graduate students. So 60 of the term papers of his class were almost exactly alike. So more than 100 students were accused of cheating and faced expulsion and stripped degrees. So natanggalan sila ng degree dahil dun sa plagiarism na nangyari. Na 60 ng mga students niya is pare-parehas ng term paper or ng thesis. So let's be careful. Kahit academic institutions, they have guidelines for plagiarism. So another one. In the Philippines too. So there's a student who won in the 24th this is De La Salle annual awards for literature. For her work was accused of plagiarizing. So there was an investigation, and then the investigation resulted that she was proven guilty. So her penalty was suspension, but she opted to transfer schools. So Malate Literary Folio, the award-giving body, also revoked her award and released a public letter of apology. So let's always be careful. Always cite your sources. Kasi you will never know. Lahat ng hiniram nyo na quote or pinaraphrase nyo ng mga ideas, always cite the sources. So if you want to check this case, you can check this link that I have written below. So we have also a case in UP. So meron tayong case sa UP. So a graduate student named Mark Joseph Solis of UP NCPAG was accused of stealing photos and submitting it in a competition. So the issue stemmed from the Smiles for the World competition organized by the Embassy of Chile, in which Solis won $1,000 and the round-trip airfare and accommodations to Chile and Brazil. So following the awarding at the Cultural Center of the Philippines on September 18, 2014, Brazil-based social entrepreneur Gregory John Smith claimed that he was the person who shot the photo used by Solis. So Smith said that the photo of the smiling boy was taken in Brazil in 2006 and not in Zamboanga as claimed by Solis. So nagpasa si Solis ng photo niya sa isang competition. And then, nanalo siya. Tapos may round trip airfare pa nga siya and accommodation eh. However, nung nakita to nung ni Gregory John Smith, he claimed that he was the person who take the photo that is used by Solis. So what happened? So after the investigation by the UP, it was found out that Solis submitted plagiarized photos in at least 7 competitions. So meron pa pala siyang sinubmit na ibang photos sa 7 na competitions. So these are the titles of the competitions. These are the list. And then may isang competition doon na nanalo siya. Ito yung Peace Process and the Pathworth Trust. So anong nangyari sa kanya? So the response, in his apology, so Solis apologized for his violation. So Solis said that he was driven by his youth, lack of experience, and the inability to see the repercussions of his actions. It was a regrettable lapse on my judgment, he said, and no words can express how sorry I am for taking your photo as mine, he told Smith. So he took the full responsibility for a disgraceful action and grave moral lapse on his part. So he did take the responsibility for his action. So what happened? The UP now, so the aftermath, the Embassy of Chile has revoked the award and announced the new set of winners in the competition. So tinanggalan na siya ng award. And what they call the award-winning the competition organizer announced a new set of winners. And then the director of UP, who is Anthony Lianchon, and Vice President told that Solis deserved a second chance for his apology because he admitted his mistake and admission of his wrongdoing. So he noted that Solis was remorseful in his letter of apology and accepted intellectual dishonesty as a grave sin. He added that the UP Diliman will do due process in trying to come up with sanctions if needed, so based on their rule book. But Leonchon declined to say what sanctions may be imposed on Solis. So hindi na sinabi kung ano yung mga sanctions na binigay kay Solis. So nag-search ako ng news article about the Solis. So what happened to Solis now? So as of now, there was an article by John Vic Mateo on December 2, 2015 that which is published under the Philippine Star. Solis was now he graduated from the UP with a degree of political science. So he was given a second chance. And currently, he is managing a football program for street children at makeshift field inside the Baclaran Church compound in Pasay City. So Solis in that year 2014, Solis suffered from harsh criticisms and social media over the plagiarism case. So he declined a request for interview, saying that he is now living a quiet life. So what can we learn from these cases or from this cases that I have presented to you. My advice is always cite your sources. Because if you're going to the universities, in academic institutions, or even if you're going to college, before you graduate in your undergraduate degree, you are tasked to pass a thesis. And that thesis, you need many sources. And you need to cite all your sources with no exemption. And then before doing yung bago nyo maipasa yung thesis nyo at makapag-graduate, some institutions like, I think madami ng institutions ngayon ang may plagiarism check. That is the Turnitin. So, Turnitin ang gamit ng UST, PNU, LASAP, Ateneo. Alam ko Turnitin din ang gamit nila for plagiarism check. So, if ang lumabas is 99% doon sa Turnitin, na pag niran yung paper mo and ang lumabas is 99%, it means that your paper is plagiarized. 99%. Para karamihan nung paper mo is walang original work. So, in PNU kasi, if I'm not mistaken, dapat pag nira ng paper mo and then nag-plagiarism check siya dun sa Turnitin, dapat 10% or 20%, 10 to 20% ang lalabas na nalalabas na plagiarize mo. 10 to 20%. So kung 50, uulitin mo ulit yan. Uulitin mo. So my advice is always to cite your sources properly. So for more information, clarifications, or further reading, you can check the website of the Intellectual Property of the Philippines, which is, ito yung sila ang nag-ano ng copyright law to protect the intellectual property of the people. So you can check their website. That is www.ipofil.gov.ph. And if you have questions to us, the librarians, you have clarifications, comments, you can email us at library@spc.makati.edu.ph, and you can message us at facebook.com spcmlive. So before I end my presentation, I will have an announcement na yung iba na nagsusulat na ng papers or yung research papers nila, you can message us or contact us if you need the research projects of here in the library. Kasi we can give you some information. Pwede namin yung scan, pero hindi buo. Pwede yung page lang, and then isend namin sa inyo. But then, it is password protected, and then naka-PDF file siya para hindi nyo siya ma-alter. And may time limit siya, which is, I think I've given 5 days. 5 days na time limit na ma-access nyo lang yung pag-email namin sa inyo. Because we are also protecting the copyright of the previous students. Because that is intellectual property. So that's all. Thank you.